And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third segment, we are going to continue with ESPN's top players list. Before I do that, however, I'd like to acknowledge Andre in the chat. He says, "Can't wait to see what my Bucks can do this season." Yeah, good luck with Doc Rivers and Darvin Ham as your coach, buddy. You're going to need it. God, that is like a match made in heaven right there with the coaching. But he also asked, who is your pick for Rookie of the Year? Shepard, easily. Like, no question about it. He was also like one of the favorites to be picked for Rookie of the Year according to ESPN. I think he's easily, the best player in that draft. And this upcoming draft is actually going to be loaded with even more talent. So it could be him. Could also be Zach Edey. I'm a little bit tongue-tied between those two, depending on how well each team is going to perform and how well they do individually. That's going to determine Rookie of the Year. But I think Shepard is really easily the easy pick for Rookie of the Year. But hey, that's just me. So now let me go ahead and pull up this list. Let's see if ESPN wants to load this list. If not, then that is going to be a little bit of a problem. But hey, we'll work our way around it. So hold on just 1 second. Let me just go ahead and open this list. All right, there we go. Scroll all the way down. I do remember who was at number 11, however, and that might shock you who's at number 11, because it definitely shocked me. It was Victor. Yeah, ESPN put Victor Wembanyama as the 11th best player in the NBA. He was ranked 47th in the previous year before he even played a game. And now he jumps up well over 30 spots into the 11th spot. It's really insane. Like, absolutely insane. And he's a little bit inefficient shooting the ball. I really think he should take a little bit fewer shots than he does and a fewer three-pointers. But again, it's something that he's going to work on as the years go on. And again, last season was a fantastic rookie season from Victor Wembanyama. And this isn't even the best kind of Victor. Like, the rookie season for Victor is arguably going to be his worst year. So I can only imagine how much more he can improve as the years go on. So I don't really have a problem with him being ranked 11th. I'm just a little bit surprised. Because again, it's like he made a huge jump. And I didn't really expect him to be considered at the 11th spot. I genuinely did not. But again, leading the entire league in blocks and leading every single rookie in every single stat aside from assists would tend to do that to you. It would tend to bolster your rating. So I don't really have a problem with this. I genuinely don't. Like, I'm just a little bit shocked, as I said previously. So again, like that's really the biggest shock on this list. So number 12 is Jalen Brunson. Again, absolutely no problems with this. Jalen Brunson had a phenomenal run, not only in the postseason, but as well as in the regular season. The Knicks are finally a respectable team now, and they all have Jalen Brunson and the Villanova boys to thank for it. And it's really like, I'm very excited to see what the Knicks could do this season. And I expect the Knicks to finish second in the standings at the very least. Would not be surprised if they end up falling a little bit short to like maybe fourth, because the Eastern Conference is incredibly top-heavy now. And while the Western Conference is more or less up for grabs, the Eastern Conference is rather top-heavy. And it's like, the top 6 teams are going to make the playoffs once again. And the play-in teams probably don't really matter all that much, and the spots are going to be saved for either the Miami Heat or some other top-heavy team in the Eastern Conference. It's really like, because the teams that I know that are going to make the postseason for the Eastern Conference, it's Boston, it's New York, it's Milwaukee, it's, the teams are leaving my head now. Orlando Magic, the Cavs, the Pacers, and whichever team that ends up winning in the play-in, which could be the 76ers, could also be the Miami Heat. It's like, it is really, really top-heavy, and it's going to come down to the teams that are in 1 through 8. Whereas, opposed to the Western Conference, it could come down to basically any team can end up making the postseason. Like, it's really, really tough in the Western Conference to decide which team is going to end up prevailing. But in the Eastern Conference, it's much easier. So that's really like no surprises to me there. Next, at number 13 is Anthony Davis, and again, not a big problem I have, not a real problem that I have with Anthony Davis being number 13th on this list. He did play a lot of games in this season. He didn't get injured, which was a good thing. He also averaged 2.3 blocks this season, along with a personal best 12.6 rebounds per game, along with 24 points per game. And like again, playing 76 games, which was a career high for him, it's, being ranked at number 13, in hindsight, isn't really all that bad. But when I think of Anthony Davis, I just think of him as being an incredibly maddeningly frustrating player. Like, he's very, very frustrating. And the reality is that Anthony Davis should be in the top, he should be in a top 3 best player right now. Like, he should be in that conversation. But instead, he's in the lower part of the top 10, and he should be the best big man in the league right now. But instead, he has to settle for being in, like, top 5 or top 4 instead of, like, something like top 2 or top 3, which is a little bit disappointing considering how great he was in New Orleans, and how ridiculous he was in college as well. But being ranked at number 13th isn't the end of the world, obviously, but it could have been a little bit better, in my opinion. Like, and this isn't a problem with the rankings. This is just a problem with Anthony Davis, in my opinion. Next player at number 14, Jaylen Brown, maybe should be a little bit higher. I wouldn't mind if maybe Jaylen Brown and Jalen Brunson actually switched spots, considering how Jaylen Brown actually ended up winning Finals MVP and Eastern Conference Finals MVP. I have no problem with Jaylen Brown being higher than Jalen Brunson. However, I will say that Jaylen Brown did have the much better team and easily had the much better second option with Jason Tatum, as opposed to Jalen Brunson, whose second option was Julius Randle. So it's like, I don't really have a problem with him being ranked at 14th, but at the same time, I wouldn't have a problem with him being a little bit higher on the list. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Would you guys rather have Jaylen Brown or would you rather have Jalen Brunson? Like, let me know. Because one thing that should be noted is that, Jaylen Brunson, he's fantastic on offense, but Brown's got that defense. Like, again, you have to have both sides of the ball, in my opinion, if you want to be considered one of the top players. Like, because that is effectively half the game. It's played on the other side of the court. I mean, most of the time, good teams are going to play it a little bit less than half because they spend a little bit more time on offense. But half the game is played on the other side of the court. And Jaylen Brown is fantastic on defense. Meanwhile, Jalen Brunson is a little bit of a liability on defense. So, it's really dependent on which one you would rather have. Andre easily would pick Brunson. Again, I have no problem with that, but, just something to think about. Next is Devin Booker at number 15. I personally think Devin Booker is a better shooting guard than Anthony Edwards. And one of the things that separates Anthony Edwards from Devin Booker is the effort that Anthony Edwards puts on defense. And like Anthony Edwards puts a lot more effort on defense than Devin Booker. However, Devin Booker is, in my opinion, a much better scorer than Anthony Edwards, and a much more consistent scorer as well than Anthony Edwards. And not only that, Devin Booker has the scoring performances to back that up as well. Obviously, losing to Anthony Edwards is not a very good thing to have on your resume, and that's probably one of the biggest reasons why Anthony Edwards is ranked higher than Devin Booker, because he ended up sweeping Devin Booker in the postseason. But again, I just think that Devin Booker is a better shooting guard and a much better, overall. And actually, I'm pretty sure he actually played point guard for the Suns in this season, which adds another layer to Devin Booker and his excellence. The fact that he was able to play guard and still end up averaging a solid amount of assists. I don't remember exactly what assist numbers he averaged. In fact, actually, let me go ahead and check right now before I make that point. Hold on just 1 second. And he averaged almost 7 assists in this season, which is a career high for him in terms of the assist category, while still being a 27 point per game scorer. So really, and Andre agrees in the chat. I just noticed that chat. But yeah, I just think that Devin Booker is a better shooting guard than Anthony Edwards, and a better guard than Anthony Edwards. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Next, at number 16, the second most overrated player, Tyrese Halliburton. I'm sorry, I do not like Halliburton. I am not a fan of Halliburton in his game. I think that the Pacers, while they're a fantastic team and they're a great team to watch, I feel like Halliburton gets a little bit too much credit. A lot of people, they want to consider him like the best true point guard and like the only true point guard that this NBA has. But what does that really mean? Like, what does true point guard mean? Like, especially now in this NBA. And Trae Young is better than Tyrese Halliburton. I'm sorry to say this, but I genuinely feel like Trae Young, and you guys know, like, you know, if you guys paid attention to my podcast, like, I really like New York, and I like New York teams, and me saying that Trae Young is better than Halliburton is, like, would be a death sentence for a lot of the time. But, again, Trae Young, he's been consistent, more consistent, and he's held his averages for longer than Tyrese Halliburton. I understand that, you know, Halliburton had the much better team success, but you also have to remember that Halliburton also had the much better team around him. And I just feel like Trae Young, his consistency and his overall production is something that gets pushed under the rug a little bit. And really, I think that Trae Young is a better point guard than Halliburton. That's my opinion. So we're running low on time, so I'm going to go ahead and go into this break. But we're going to continue on with this list, and we'll start from 17. We left off at 16 with Halliburton. So I'll be right back after this short break, so be sure to stay tuned.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.